The truth hurts. It's demanding of us to change. It's much easier for me and for all of us to live a lie, because then we don't have to change. We could be comfortable in what we sit in, but in the end, it's not the truth. That's a high bar to live by, and it's demanding. The Alter Rebbe lost 50,000 followers because he demanded the truth. Do we demand the truth from ourselves? Or do we hide from the truth? Chassidim have a saying that a true chassid, true pious individual, is under the bed covers. What are you thinking then? Thinking about how great and accomplished you are, how wonderful you are, how entitled you are? That's not the truth. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadesh, Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We learned today the second letter from the Alter Rebbe's holy letters, Geras HaKodesh. This letter was written upon his arrival from Petersburg. Petersburg at the time was the capital. He was incarcerated because of his teachings. And this is the letter that he wrote to his followers on how they should behave to those who were responsible for his incarceration, which were fellow Jews, other very religious Jews, who were very much against these new teachings. And of course, the fact that he was released from prison was not only a sign from on high to continue with the teachings, and even more so, but it was even a sign from below that the forces of negativity, of evil, right, the Tsar of Russia, who came to visit the Alter Rebbe himself in prison incognito because he had heard of his greatness, they released him. So he begins with famous words of Jacob, our forefather, Ketointi mikola chasadim or mikola emes. I have become small from all of the favors and from of all the truth. What does that mean? Different commentators give different explanations. The Alter Rebbe says that every single favor that God bestows upon us should actually make us more humble. As God's right arm figuratively embraces us, it means that God's bringing us closer to him more intensely than before. And anybody who is close, and more exceedingly close then to God, that what ought to bring out in the person is humility. Humility. Why? Because the greater you come to, and the closer you come to greatness, the more you sense your smallness and what you are approaching, how awesome it is. So the closer God brings you, the more privy you are to God's awesomeness. And ultimately, how we are nothing before him. So parenthetically, the Alter doesn't say this here, but just to give a little, when you stand before a true great person, not that the person is making you feel small, but when you are aware of their greatness and their awesomeness, you feel your smallness. So when I stood before the Rebbe, not that he would make me feel small, but me being aware of his greatness, the closer I am, the more humble I become. And this is the quality of Abraham, Avram Avinu, in his response to God's kindness that God did to him. He said, I am but dust and ashes. God brings him close, and he doesn't feel, oh, I'm special, entitled. He feels, on the contrary, I am but dust and ashes. This is also the humility that is the character trait of Jacob, our forefather, that he felt justified in the fear of his brother Esau, who was coming after him, that maybe God is not going to protect him. Why? Because he felt that of all the kindnesses that God did, he kind of used up all of his favors, if you will. So therefore, he felt totally unfit, unworthy to be saved because of his merit. That was all used up. And therefore felt that he was lacking. And therefore even appeared as sin even, which is the concept of lacking. And therefore prays to God that he should protect him, because Esau is coming after him with unkind desires and intentions. This is different from what is the unholy side, the counterpart. Also the attribute of kindness, right? That comes from klipa, sitracher, the other side. And that is embodied by Ishmael. Ishmael, the son of Abraham, that he is also kindness, but kindness of klipa, of negativity. The more kindness that is shown to him, the more he grows in pride, arrogance, and self-satisfaction. The more he feels he's entitled. The more I get, the more I deserve. The closer I become, the more I feel how I'm special. So when someone does something kind and special to you, what do you feel? How deserved you are, or how great that person is in the kindness that they did? Very telling on what kind of person we are. So that is all a preface to the message that he wants to give to his Hasidim. Says the Alter Rebbe, accordingly to what this message is, I'm making a weighty announcement to the Hasidic fraternity regarding the multitude of favors and great things that God has done to us. In other words, in his release from prison is not just his personal release, but of course, how it affects the Hasidic fraternity. And what a kindness this is. And therefore, we have to hold on to the attribute of Jacob and see ourselves not as entitled people, but as remnants of not being entitled, but being forever grateful. And that really, in such a humility that we see ourselves as not indispensable, but dispensable. And yet God shows kindness to us. Not because, oh, I'm indispensable. Of course, God had to do a kindness towards me. No, not that way at all. The opposite. And therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, let no person of the fraternity become haughty in relation to their brethren. Again, these fellow Jews were the opponents of the Hasidic movement, who were the ones who caused the arrest of the Alter Rebbe. And they would have good reason to jeer and to be derisive towards them for what they did. And yet the Alter Rebbe says, don't jeer, don't be derisive. The strict warning, hold your peace, mention nothing. Rather, subdue the spirit and the heart and hold on to the attribute of truth unto Jacob. Now, with this says the Rebbe Marash that the Alter Rebbe lost 50,000 Chassidim because he said this term, that he's demanding such a truth that in the moment of your victory against foes opponents who did ill to the Alter Rebbe, that could have led to horrific end. Hold your peace. Say nothing. That's demanding a lot. Think of your own parent who you love, and someone did something horrific to them that was totally unjust. How would you react to that person? Well, the Alter Rebbe is saying here, don't jeer, don't be derisive. Mention nothing, hold your peace. Rather, subdue your spirit and hold by the truth with humility, with a soft answer that turns away anger, and with a restrained spirit. And concludes the Alter Rebbe that perhaps when we will act this way, perhaps we will able to get a loving response from their hearts because we are loving in our heart. As water reflects one's face, so too does the heart of one man reflect the heart of another. And that concludes the second letter. Wow. I'm not certain, of my capacity of being able to be so strong and to be so humble. But this is real truth that is demanded by the Alter Rebbe of us, that we can bite our tongue, hold back to someone who's so dear to you as the Alter Rebbe, or someone in your life that's so dear to you that has been harmed, put into prison. 53 days. Can I juxtapose the 53 chapters of the Tanya? And hold the peace. And maybe with that loving devotion will arouse in them something positive. The opponents. We can understand with that, not everybody is ready for that. And therefore he lost followers because of the demand for real truths to live by. It's not easy. It's tough. And yeah, something to strive for. It's not black and white in the end, truth. Even though truth itself is black and white, but our striving for the truth is something that we need to strive more and more to live by, and not seeing it merely as total black and white. Folks, Rambam is coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zecher Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, great day. On one.